And good morning, Hoosier Nation, and welcome to another victorious edition of Hoosier Morning After. This is Hoosier Morning After Harvard. Yesterday afternoon, early evening, your Indiana Hoosiers go on to defeat Harvard 89-76 to go to 5-1 on the season. Great start to the game. IU's first possession was run to get Malik, the ball, and then find some rhythm for him. And then the second possession was a run play for McKenzie. Love to see that, getting him going, getting the ball in the basket for him, and starting off what would end up being a great game and a great step forward for him. Those two possessions just ideal for Indiana, and obviously we've seen this before, some great plays from the tip to get guys established, get them the opportunity to see the ball go down. And overall, just kind of a good start to this game. Energy and focus was high, but then it slowly went downhill with another questionable line change, hockey-style line change from Mike Woodson, where he gets almost the full bench in there together, kind of allowed Harvard to stick around, shooting 8 for 17 from three, and just an overall great performance by their best player, their point guard freshman. And Mac kind of brought it back to a 1-point lead for themselves on an incredible banked three going into half, and kind of made IU fans kind of feel a little nervous going into the halftime, because we had a banged up leader. We had things that weren't looking so great, but then IU came out of the half. Some bench guys stepped up, and just a lot of production from the big guys underneath. IU's front court continues to be kind of the bread and butter of this team. Ware having a fantastic game. Malik having a fantastic game despite some nerves of going out with holding his back. And then McKenzie as well getting going. So some great things, some contributions from guys that we didn't expect to see, and some playtime from some guys who haven't seen the floor yet this season. Some things we'll get into on this show. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host, Chad Schwartzkopf. Here with me always is Martha, the Mop Lady. Martha, your opening thoughts on this game.
Going into this, I kind of assumed, on paper, Harvard's outside of UConn, I think from a Ken Baum standpoint and ranking standpoint, the toughest team we've played. So obviously with how we've played, leading up to this point, a little bit of, obviously it was a great opportunity, but a little bit of concern on how we would come out and handle Harvard. Right. And I thought in the first half offensively, we looked sharp, right? I think we were scoring, I can't remember what the number was, but we points per possession, I think was like 1.13 for us is really good when you look at us this season. And but allowing them to kind of, to your point, allowing them to close the half. I think they made 6 3-pointers in the first half, 8, maybe it was 8 3-pointers in the first half, which we'll get into a little bit, but yeah, was it the line change of bringing in the entire second five, or was it continued just lack of defensive awareness on the perimeter, combination of both? But going into half, certainly some concern and frustration, at least from my seat. But and then the second half, I thought was some of our best basketball that we've played this season. So it was nice to see. You mentioned McKenzie and then Khalil and two guys just kind of that, Khalil's been solid all season, but we've talked a lot about McKenzie, just to see him have the type of performance that he did, especially with X going down. Really like how he closed the game. I think that, we've got some Big Ten games on the horizon. I think that can be a real confidence booster going into some of those. So as concerned as I was going into the halftime, I was just as kind of amped up on the way we were able to kind of play some of our best basketball in the second half. So hopefully we can carry that momentum into, some of these conference games coming up.
Yeah, Mackenzie Mbaku, as we have said, continues to be that player that we kind of hold a high standard to. And you could, if you watch the post-game press conference from Coach Woodson, even the reporters pushing a little hard, and a lot of questions about McKenzie getting going and all that kind of stuff. And Coach is starting to get fed up with those. And he continues to say he's a freshman. He's coming around. You guys are hung up, but today was a step forward. And I agree with that. It was a major step forward. And we do kind of need to change our perspective of him and our expectations of him. And I think that's because some lack of offense in other places we're turning to and putting a lot of pressure on him. But this was a huge step forward and a great game by him. 18 points, finished 7 for 13 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3. Technically, I think he ended up 3 for 7 or 8 from 3 because his toe was kissing the line, had 2 threes taken away from him in this game. I think another player did. I think CJ also had 1 taken away at one point or had his toes on the line as well. But a good stat line. Still some defensive woes. Sometimes where he loses his man and it's just kind of slow and too quick to go over and try to double team and leave his man wide open when he doesn't need to double team. And even I'm guilty of that as well. I tweeted in the middle of the game asking if Mackenzie even watches tape much at all to see these issues, just because they're common issues that he keeps making and mistakes that he keeps making in game. And maybe that's just freshman focus, losing focus and trying to over hustle in the game. But he's making those steps forward and he's doing a lot of the things he needs to be and will continue to grow from here. And it's just great that we have this good stepping stone to continue on. Your thoughts on Mackenzie's game?
I mean, Mackenzie being able to be on the court for 31 minutes, I think is huge. I'm a little more bullish on kind of the expectations. I mean, we the whole recruitment and the commitment, a top commit ever, I think, or one of the top commits to ever commit to Indiana. I think the expectation was that he was going to come in and be able to provide some instant offense. And, we heard the one and done potentially and things like that. So I don't think people's expectations were that far off based off what was kind of sold during the recruitment. I do understand Mike Woodson defending his player, and I would do the same thing. So I certainly see both sides, but a guy that came in with the skill set that he does, we've got to be able to keep him on the court. So to have him on the court for 31 minutes, I think is huge. I thought he really looked confident offensively. I thought, at times early in the year, it looked like he was forcing a lot of stuff offensively and just looked uncomfortable. And that, I think that translated to some poor defense. And while we still saw some poor defense, I thought the effort and engagement seemed a little bit better last night, which I think is encouraging. We are going to need him to be a little more present defensively. He just seems to get lost, whether it's in rotation or just where he needs to be on the court at any given time. And that's, we're gonna need him to be better in conference, or it's going to become a pretty large issue. But again, I think you've got to take some of the positives. Him scoring 18 points, being on the court for 31 minutes, that's a big step in the right direction for him. And hopefully this gives him some confidence and he continues to be more engaged, and that translates to being in a better spot defensively. And we see some improvement there as well.
Yeah. And along with him down there underneath, obviously was where IU had its points. And we got to talk about Ware and that amazing performance he had, a career high 28 points, 12 for 13 from the field. Again, missed that one shot, but just about missed it in the best way you can. And this, other than putting it in the hoop, got his own rebound and went back up, got fouled, and went to the line for that. 1 for 1 from 3. I'd love for him to take more of those, honestly, to tell you the truth. 3 for 5 from the free throw stripe and 8 rebounds. 2 blocks, 3 steals. Just a game, as you came into it, Harvard's not very deep in the front court. A game where he was going to be able to go out and get his, and Khalil Ware definitely did have that second Thanksgiving feast in this game. And again, I'd love to see him shoot more of those threes. I love that little turnaround fadeaway that he shoots. Still some questions when he faces other big men. He obviously struggled in the UConn game, and he's going to have a challenge ahead of him and as the schedule comes up. But I like the performance that he gave to us right now, and is honestly probably the best player currently on IU's roster. Your thoughts on Ware's performance?
I know we're only 5-6 games into the season, but I here's a guy that's averaging 17, almost 18 points a game early in the year for us. And if you look at his stat line last year at Oregon, I don't, I can't remember if he averaged double figures or not, but obviously it was a roller coaster ride there. And he came in with all the question marks, but I think he's starting to realize how good he can be. And I think he's starting to see it. And I think a lot of credit goes to this coaching staff. I think when you look at a guy like that and he's got all the skill set and all the tools, you kind of just expect it. And it's like, yeah, he should go out there and be able to dominate like that. But, he comes to Indiana with a bit of a story, right? He's had some struggles collegiately in his first year. And yeah, he's got all the skill set, but can he put it together? And so far he has. And when you look at him and kind of the I'll call it a bond, or him and Malik on the court, just the way that they kind of are playing and feeding off one another. I think they both speak well to each other's game, but yeah, I mean, being able to go 10 for 11 from the floor or whatever it was, and just be able to be that efficient offensively, especially with our struggles on the perimeter, right? We need him and Malik to be strong, and he's done it consistently. Did he have a great game against UConn? No. But, I mean, that game aside, he has been strong for Indiana. And, he's been the one very, very pleasant, I'll call it a surprise, because I think he came in with those question marks that we've talked about. So to see him be able to put it all together consistently, I think is encouraging. And again, I don't see a quick fix on the perimeter. So we're going to need those two to continue to be as strong as they've been.
Yes, and what a great matchup, what a great connection that they're developing. Easy for Malik, as you could say. You've heard it in the telecast. Robbie said it before, but easy to know when you have a 7-footer that if you get into trouble, just kind of throw it anywhere near it, and he should be able to go up there and get it, or at least have a chance at it. But Malik had a great game as well. 17 points, 8 for 14 in the field, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Tied for assists on the team. Obviously, again, that's a lot of their connection between those two. They did have one miscue at one point where I think it was where kind of really fired the ball a little too quick at him, and Malik wasn't quite looking up at it yet, but a little lob, and he would have had that one. But 30 minutes from Malik, we obviously at one point in the second half didn't expect that. Something to be concerned about as he kind of grabbed his back and went out. Didn't even sit on the bench and get treatment. Immediately grabbed Tim Garl and headed towards the locker room, but at least did come back out and played in the game. So hopefully nothing too serious, but it always concerns me when it's a back thing, because that's something that you don't necessarily get over and can be re-aggravated as the season goes along. So something to keep an eye on. But tough as nails as a player as he is, doesn't want to sit it out and wants to battle through that. Your thoughts on Malik?
Strong as again, I think masked by some of our struggles on the perimeter, struggles defensively, struggles against some of these opponents are just the games that our bigs have had. We had, for all the questions that Khalil had, I think we had some for Malik as well, right? Can he stay on the court? Can he stay out of foul trouble? I don't know what he's averaging minutes-wise, but another game where he's on the court for 30 minutes and just his offensive efficiency, he's just a bull down there, and he's fighting through double teams. And we talked about kind of the way that they play off each other, him and Khalil. So it's just when he went off with that injury, it's just like, man, talk about a guy we cannot afford to lose, because he's kind of been our backbone, so far this season. So hopefully can rest that back a little bit and get that gap fixed, because obviously he's going to get banged up on in conference season, right? And we're going to need all the minutes we can get from him. So hopefully we can get him healthy. But just continues to, the way he's been able to figure it out from a body standpoint, you can tell he's in much better shape. And it allows him to stay on the court more. He's not, is he getting some ticky-tack fouls every once in a while? Yes, but not nearly at the rate he was last year. And when he gets that ball in the low block, even if he is double teamed, I've got all the confidence in the world that he's either going to find that he's either going to find Khalil or he's going to be able to fight through that double team and get a good shot off or get fouled. So, yeah, just incredibly productive. And you got to be proud of him for taking the next step in his game. And we've talked a little bit about how he was so strong to begin last year. And I think it looks different this year. And I think it bodes well for conference season as well.
Yeah, and that little baby hook, that little running hook that he's able to get, it's just kind of automatic points for IU. It's really, as long as we run the correct ball movements and screens to get it to him in the right point, like you said, it's a go-to when IU needs a basket kind of play to go to. But the tape's going to come out on that, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see how he handles that, how he's able to move on from those struggles and get through those double teams, or how teams are gonna try to stop him, and what it hopefully opens up for other players around him, and those players hopefully can step up in those opportunities. You kind of tease, and to speak of our other player that's kind of tweaked up a little bit, Xavier Johnson just played 13 minutes, 3 points, 1 for 3 from the field, and made a free throw. Struggling with his left ankle. That is the opposite foot that he had the surgery on from last year. That was his right. So his left ankle and foot is what's being taped up now. Went into try with the layup line leading into the second half, but obviously didn't feel right. So this is a game that we could have him sit. So thank goodness it happened now. But there is some concern there. And hopefully, like a back can be, an ankle can also be kind of a nagging thing moving forward. And I thought that a lot of other players stepped up in that strife and led to some decent things. Just your thoughts on Xavier maybe in this injury, and then those that kind of stepped up in his stead.
Yeah, it's obviously there's some concern there, right? I mean, a guy that has played a lot of college basketball, had a lot of injuries, and when you look at the concerns with our perimeter, it's a guy we can't afford to lose, and he looks dinged up. He obviously went out for the season with his leg injury last year. He had the leg injury a couple games ago, so there's obviously some concern there because you added some guys step up in his absence. Yes. But when they're going to have to, right? I mean, our perimeter play, teams are going to force us to be effective at the 3-point line around the perimeter to beat them, right? They're going to clog the lane. They're going to pack the lane and force our guards to beat them. And somebody's got to step up. And I think we did enough last night, and thankfully, Malik and Khalil had solid games, but man, we're going to have to get something going on the perimeter. So yeah, and I know we're going to get into Trey and kind of his struggles, but yeah, I think Caleb came in, played decent. And obviously, Gabe played some solid minutes, but not giving up or not giving us a bunch offensively. So to me, it's a big concern spot, right? When you look at our perimeter and the lack of production out there, I don't have an answer right now. I just have hope that X can get healthy and find his offense a little bit. Trey can get going. But yeah, right now it's certainly a concern spot for me.
Yeah, and I do like what Cups came in and did. Again, he's a freshman, so despite obviously he's a workaholic, he's coach's son. He makes the right decisions when he can. He's still also a freshman, and his game is still coming along. The one bright spot that was nice to see, and obviously he didn't put much up on the stat sheet, was Anthony Leal got into this game, and I really liked sort of the kind of leadership that you saw from him once he got out there. He did not stop talking, and just shows that he is just that coaching type of player. And again, he stayed with his man, did the things he needed to do defensively. He got the ball where it needed to on offense, and just kind of calmed the team in a leadership way. And I think those minutes that he provided can easily be overlooked. But I think that contribution from him was fantastic, and hopefully gives coach some confidence to just put him in there just as a maybe energy and calming factor when IU needs it. And Jen brought it up earlier, and we can transition here as well. Jen asks in the chat, is Trey in a slump? What is going on with him? And that's something I had even in my notes. I can't figure out what's up with him. He seems to be turning down shots. He is contributing, but there's more to him. There's more IU could get out of him. He's really good at the kind of drive and kick plays. He's really good at those curl screens where he gets downhill and is able to make those decisions. And there's glimpses of that. And I don't know, maybe it's just a product of our big guys are clicking, and that's what we need to feed to and go to. But I also feel like Trey can maybe get his as well. I don't know if it's something that we need to necessarily count on, but maybe it's just it'll come as the season goes along and people play our bigs, and maybe Trey is overall just trying too hard. Your kind of thoughts on the conundrum that is Trey Galloway this year?
Yeah, all the above, right? I think there's some added pressure on him to obviously he's being asked to be a leader, which I think comes natural a little bit to a guy like him. But obviously, when you lose what we lost from last season in an All-American and Trace Jackson Davis, and I think he fed off well with him. Trace was such a good passer, and Trey is so good at getting into the lane and getting his shot off that I think those two kind of fed off each other a little bit. But I don't know that he's playing out of position. He doesn't come off as a natural shooting guard to me. But when you're asking a guy like Trey to be night in and night out a pretty big contributor offensively, I think it certainly can add some pressure to him, because I think he's being asked to do a little bit more than maybe his game can provide. I think he's always going to be a solid contributor. He's always going to be an energy guy. He can find his shot in the lane, but when he shot 40% from three last year, I think everybody kind of raised their eyebrows. And he went 0 for 4 last night. And is it water finding its level? Is it a confidence thing? I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think hopefully as our guys down the post kind of find it, consistently, right? They're putting up solid numbers consistently. Maybe a little bit of that pressure, comes off him a little bit, where he knows he's got two guys down there that he can rely on, and he can just play his game, right? Because we're gonna need him, especially with the question marks around X and his ability to stay healthy, and I'm sure he's feeling, from a leadership standpoint, when you've got all these new faces, making sure everybody's gelling collectively and the personalities are, it's a lot of pressure for Trey. And I'm sure trying to balance that between what he's being asked to do on the court has probably been a lot. And, hopefully it's something that he continues to work through and can find his stride, because we're going to need, we're going to need more contribution. We're going to need more than 4 points from him. He should be scoring 10, 11 points a game. And it's just been kind of a struggle thus far from him. So hopefully he can find it a little bit, especially that stroke from outside, to build some confidence, and because we're going to need it here in the Big Ten season.
Yeah, and he is playing. You kind of mentioned a little bit there, and Nick mentions it as well in the chat, saying Trey is the sixth man who we are counting on coaching on the floor. He's struggling to do his job and teaching others, and I agree with that. And in a perfect world. And you can even go back to last season, some of the Hoosier Morning After shows. I've always been praising and thinking that Trey is the best as that sixth man. He's great as that energy player coming off the bench, the first one off the bench, with his basketball IQ. And I've said in past shows that his knowledge of the game is very high, and is someone that could sit on the bench and watch the first few minutes and kind of analyze it and see where he can attack and what he can do, and then come in and be that player. And IU tried to do that with recruiting another two in Connect and a few others that it didn't line up that way. It didn't fall that way for IU. So this is kind of the role that he's in. And I think he is struggling to step up where he needs to in that. But again, it is something where I do agree. We are asking a lot from him. You spoke about him a little bit, but I also want to mention, I think Banks had another decent game, had some great rebounds, made 2 great threes. I like his 3-stroke. That's someone that can kind of light it up, but then also kind of very much had a Banks game as well, and had a very interesting turnover unforced when he was passing it on the outside. But continues to be that player that is kind of a glue-esque player, does the hustle thing, Sky's in there for rebounds, has some good, decent defense. I still think in the first half there's a little bit of struggles. I don't really necessarily like him and Walker in together. I think they make similar mistakes defensively, and I don't like those two in together. But just like his game, and maybe coupling him with Ware. Again, Ware, I think, had a decent game as well, contributing where he needed to, making the right choices on offense, finding little floaters when he needed to. Didn't take any ill-advised threes, I think. Let me, as I bring up the stats real quick, in this game. So no, took no threes, so happy there. But good contribution from him. Your thoughts on those two players?
Yeah, I thought Caleb, I thought he would have got a little more, just try to build off some of his momentum from, the Louisville game. I thought he would have gotten maybe a little bit more minutes than the 10 he got. But I thought he made himself, I thought his presence was known in the second half, which I think is good for him, because at times he can become unnoticeable on the court. And when you see him flying around and engaging himself, that's when I think he's at his best. So you notice some of that in the second half, and to be able to have that kind of presence in the 10 minutes that he did play, going 2 for 4 from the field, and 6 points, 3 rebounds. He's making his presence known, which is I always kind of, I don't know if it's because they're both sophomores, but I kind of cup him in with CJ Gunn, right? What are we going to get out of those two? Man, maybe it's because of some of the inconsistencies and whatnot. But, you mentioned Caleb and Anthony. I thought Anthony played pretty well too, right? I think he had a 2 or 3 games where he was almost a liability on the court at times, getting lost defensively and things of that nature. And for a guy that's been around for 5 years, that can't happen, right? He's played enough basketball that he's got to be able to come in and contribute. But yeah, I thought both of those guys had decent games. I think they had games that should be kind of the expectation from both, right? I mean, they both have been around multiple years. So I thought they both contributed well. And again, who knows what our health is going to be on the perimeter. So they both may be asked to produce and play even more.
One thing that was a little shocking in this game, and maybe your quick thoughts on it, but CJ Gunn only had 3 minutes. Obviously, he made a few mistakes when he got in there, had a turnover and a personal foul. Made one basket that he took, though. I think that was one of the toes on the line, 3-pointers that was taken away. But interesting, when IU was struggling from the guard standpoint, I thought CJ's defense has been a little bit better as of recent, so I don't think that was the liability. It just should have been and could have been a game where we could have seen some more minutes for CJ out there. It was kind of interesting that coach kind of almost forgot about him to a degree in this game. Your thoughts on that kind of situation?
Yeah, I don't know what led to him getting the 3 minutes he got. He did come in and make, what I thought was a 3-pointer turned out to be one of our 19 long 2-pointers with the foot on the line. But yeah, it's almost unfair, right? I shouldn't say it's unfair, but I made the comment last night, when you look at Harvard and a freshman guard at that, like Malik Mack, that they have to put up 27 points. It's like, where's ours? It should not be that hard. And we cast such a short net, when it's such a need. I think for us, it's certainly a point of frustration, for myself, and I understand that, and I appreciate kind of the approach to recruiting where the net you do cast is short, but when you strike out on some of those perimeter guards, it really leaves a hole, especially when you've got a guy like X who's, been banged up and we're uncertain of what we're going to get from him. You've got to be able to, for all the talk that you and I have and everybody has of this being of college basketball, especially as the season goes on, being a guard game. and our inability to kind of improve in that area is kind of a head scratcher, especially when you see a guy like that on a team like Harvard. And no offense to Harvard, but that's a guy that should be playing, and that's a guy that should be, playing high level college basketball, major conference college basketball. I mean, he's a stud, and you knew it from the minute that game started. Right. So why, why? I hate to keep harping on it. And I know you asked me about CJ Gunn, and I'm talking about Malik Mag, but holy cow. I mean, there's an instant impact guy, 33 minutes, 27 points, and we're begging CJ Gunn to just contribute, a skosh of that. It just makes me want to pound my head against my desk. And so yeah, we need CJ to get some confidence. He's a guy that can obviously stroke from the outside, has had some question marks defensively. I think playing 3 minutes doesn't answer any of our questions. So I don't have a lot to say about it. I don't know why he didn't get more minutes, especially with X going down. But yeah, we'll just trust coach on that, and hopefully we see some positive stuff out of CJ moving forward.
Yeah, and he's a player as we continue throughout the season, again, as teams realize that the front court is where IU's making their points and they continue to try to shut them down, can be a guy that can light it up, possibly, hopefully, should be able to light it up for IU on the outside. The one thing I will say as well on Mac is that he's got a little bit of that Steph Curry kind of situation where kind of under-recruited guy, chip on his shoulder, ends up going to Harvard. Kind of, they said in the telecast that he had spoken that he wanted to go to Harvard because he wanted the academic challenge and everything. And I just want to say, hopefully, Kenya Hunter picks up his phone, kind of shoots him a little text and says the business department, the Kelly Business School, is equally as tough for education standpoints, and come on over, kid, because an impact player like that would be fantastic in the future for IU. So just shows that you're continuing, you're always recruiting and everything as things go on. Moving on and kind of looking at stats in this game, and it's very interesting to see, and you look at IU scoring 89 points, and you think that maybe we started to get hot from the 3-point line and putting up that many points and just being 4 for 15 from the field. Again, probably more closer to 6 for 18 or so, or maybe 7 for 18 is closer to say, when with 2 or 3 threes taken away because toes on the line. Again, that overall shot taking of threes a little bit better and probably closer to the numbers that you think IU is going to be in this year. But to score that many points and have that stat line from 3 is pretty fantastic. IU took care of business as well from the free throw line, shooting 76%. That was great to see. Rebounds a lot better, 34 rebounds for IU. Turnovers 12, a little bit lopsided in the first half during that little struggles, but turnover to assist 12 to 20 looks pretty good. 8 steals, 4 blocks for the team. So stat sheets look pretty good. Any stats out there that you're looking at, Martha?
Yeah, and just before I get there, I just want you to know I too went to Harvard for the academic challenge, just so you know that. I kid. I think it's nice to see our bench outscore theirs, albeit 3 points, 19 to 16. Points off turnovers, we beat them 20 to 11. And then obviously points in the paint, and to your point, right? I sit there and harp on CJ Gunn. Obviously we had a massive advantage in the paint. So, was that coach and the staff just playing to that advantage? Maybe. I think the underlying concern for us fans is when we don't see that when we don't see any sort of offensive production from the perimeter, we're concerned about what we may see in conference, right? Or, the minute that shuts off down low, what are we going to see from the perimeter? So I think that speaks a little bit to our concern, from the perimeter. But it was nice to see us kind of win that battle in the paint. They had 28 points in the paint to our 50. So, obviously that's the difference in the game, because they outshot us from 3. So the dominance we had down low, really sticks out to me. And obviously we've talked a lot about it in this show, but just a real. I mean, those two guys are MVPs, right? Khalil and Malik. So just really impressed with the performance they had and our dominance down low.
Yeah, and that's a good point to say as well. Like you said, if you're going to be able to beat a team and you're going to be able to get such easy baskets underneath, why shoot the threes? Go to your bread and butter, beat the team, get that win and everything. There's going to be a point, obviously, where IU is going to struggle with that, and we're going to have to make them on the outside. But for right now, that's where the bread and butter is. And one thing that I will say that I'm looking at stat line wise that I would say is a negative, and I'd like to see a little bit more of, is IU just finishes with 4 fast break points. I would like to see that number go up. I think this is an IU team that can run with some pace and has a lot of guys that can get out and get going and bring the ball up and passing up. So that was one number that was down. But again, overall, that's just nitpicking and trying to look through the stats to find things. One thing I do want to shift a little bit, we don't talk about too much, but just wanted to spread some love through the different IU athletics and obviously a lot of news as we've had this weekend and over the break with the different IU sports. Obviously, first, a big congratulations to IU men's soccer advancing to the next round in the tournament, a team that has struggled at the beginning of the year and has gotten it together here and is beating teams that they are outrank them. So doing some great things. The 200th win for Coach Yeagley and everything. So great to see that. Volleyball as well finished their season with 21 wins, a program record. That program continues to be on the up and up. Mackenzie Holmes as well gets into the 2,000 point rank. Also, you saw Mackenzie and Sydney at the basketball game sporting their home field bomber jackets. That was great to see. Mackenzie continues to be the just huge fan of IU overall, why she's back and everything like that. She's loving her college experience. It's always great to see. And then the tough news, obviously, that we need to at least approach and speak on quickly. IU moves on from Coach Allen, saying goodbye to him. And as I tweeted, it was time to say goodbye to the coach, but it's really sad to say goodbye to the man because you have to separate those two. The coaching wasn't up to par. The situation was not right. And IU needed to move on. And luckily, IU was able to figure things out from a financial standpoint and figure out that deal and move on. Obviously, everyone benefits, and it is sad for Allen. He will end up somewhere else. There will be someone that will pick him up. Maybe not in a head coaching standpoint, but he will coach again somewhere else. And I wish him the best. And I especially wish, as what is often overlooked, all the assistants as well that are out of a job. But thanks for those highlights that we did have, Coach. And I wish you the best moving on. Martha, your kind of overall thoughts on these athletics things, and then Alan as well.
Yeah, I think that obviously you touched on the good, and just and I mentioned it last night as well. I think with obviously the giant news of Coach Allen being terminated, I think some of that stuff can get overshadowed with that news. But a lot of really neat accomplishments for everything that you mentioned, right? I think the volleyball team tying program record 21 wins, Coach Yeagley winning his 200th game at IU, the soccer team 2 months ago in October looked like they were dead in the water. Like, is this going to be the first time they don't make the tournament in years? And here they are playing in the Elite Eight. But what a self-sustaining, incredible program that is. Mackenzie Holmes, 2,000 career points at IU. So a lot of really neat accomplishments, around IU. And then obviously the tough news with Coach Allen. I think, you stated it well. It was time to say goodbye to the coach, tough to say goodbye to the man. I think I'll always respect him for, I think he did everything the right way. And it's you don't find too many football coaches that want to be at Indiana. I think he's the exception. I think he's an incredible leader of men. It just, bottom line is this is a business that comes down to wins and losses, and maybe he was loyal to a fault with some of the coaching hires that he made and sticking with some guys for too long. And I think it came back to bite him. I'll wish him nothing but luck. I think it was time to make that move. Obviously, when you look at the record over the course of the last 3 years, So yeah, it's a tough deal because it's very, very bittersweet because you think about what he gave us during those COVID years, some of those memories and moments. It's tough because you just know, deep down that's a great man. It's just a good man, and so it's always tough to say goodbye to guys like that. So, but excited for what the future may bring. So, but yeah, all in all, an eventful weekend for certain.
Yeah, and I will say, as a girl dad, my daughter's got really excited as well, and I've gotten her into watching IU volleyball. So she's become a very big IU volleyball fan, and just great to see and have those great role models as well for these kids growing up and everything. And Gray on IU's volleyball team is her favorite player. She's got that long hair and that big ponytail and stuff. And my daughter always points out when she's on there and loves watching that team. So great job from that staff and on the up and up, and just a great energy play. And you go there anytime and you'll see Joel and Richie sitting in their spots on the sideline, and great to see students packing it as well. So fantastic program, fantastic trajectory they are heading on. IU's next game, basketball, switching back. IU will be home on Friday at 7 p.m. This is against Maryland. Jordan Geronimo's homecoming. IU's got to win this one. It's a big game for IU. Opener of the conference games. The next couple games after that are really tough ones. We got Michigan away, Auburn in Atlanta, and then Kansas at home. Your kind of thoughts on this stretch that IU has coming up?
Yeah, you said it well, right? I think Maryland. I think Indiana has a chance to win at Michigan too. I know they've looked a little. They've had a couple games where they looked really solid. They had a couple games where they didn't. I think Indiana's length can disrupt Michigan a little bit. But those are two conference wins where you've got an opportunity to, when's the last time Indiana started the conference season 2-0? It feels like it's been a minute, right? Seems like we always get tough draws to open the conference season. But I think with Maryland at home, they've had kind of a rocky start. I think they've dropped a couple home games. And then playing at Michigan, I think those are two opportunities right there that, it's a big ask to go on the road with the way we've looked at times and get that win. It's never easy to win on the road in the Big Ten, but I think Indiana can do it. They won there last year. So yeah, it's two games where I would love to see us build some confidence, feel good about ourselves going down to Atlanta. Auburn, I watched a little bit of them, and Bruce Pearl's been kind of negative on them a little bit, just kind of dogging their play a little bit. Who knows if that's just a challenge to them, but they're going to be talented. Bruce Pearl teams always are super athletic and quick and fast. And so we're gonna have to be ready for that one. So hoping we build some confidence, with these two conference wins. I hope they're wins, two conference games, right? Set us up well for kind of what we have coming up. Because as you mentioned, the schedule, we are getting into the meat and potatoes of the schedule. Conference season, you've got Auburn, you've got Kansas around the corner. It's, there are no shortcuts here moving forward. So if we're not ready, we better figure out a way to be soon.
And there you go, Martha, a little psychic, guaranteeing these next two wins for IU. Also, with these home games and the conference games starting up, the holiday season starting up and everything, if you find yourself a little too busy to get to these IU games, I know of a place that you can take those tickets. And Martha, tell them more what they can do with those tickets.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially you mentioned it with the holiday games. Folks are home. Folks are, I think it's obviously great time to give, right? And we've got a lot of candidates that, would love to attend games. So if you've got tickets you can't use, HoosierTicketProject.org/donate. We're also we're doing a raffle as well. It's the Iowa women's game later. It's the games are in February. Iowa women's basketball team plays Iowa. The men's team plays Nebraska at home. 2-night stay in an Airbnb, tour of Assembly Hall. Let me know. We can certainly connect to get you raffle tickets. I think Nick in the chat committed to buying 100 raffle tickets. So I'll send you that link. I'll text you after the show so you can get those purchased. And Yeah. So anybody interested in that, all the proceeds go to the project and allow us to do some fun things we want to do for worthy recipients here later in the year. So yeah, thank you for the platform again to speak about the project.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. And I'm going to shoot it back to you one last time. Just give your closing thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I think, and I see Greg asked a question in the chat about the project, if I can answer that real quick. Great question. Do you give away all the tickets donated for an event? Some people might shy away from submitting due to scarcity. There are good examples when a football season goes south, we at times can get more tickets donated than we can find homes for. It does happen. There are times when with men's basketball, there's usually zero issue unless we get some like late balcony tickets donated. Women's basketball at times with these early season games, with the change that women's basketball has made this year with lack of general admission and everybody gets seats, it seems like a lot of people bought up season tickets and aren't using them. We get a lot donated at the last minute, which makes it hard to find homes for, if I'm being honest. We try our best. With men's basketball, it's usually not a problem. People suck those up. But I would encourage folks that if they are going to donate, to donate them early and not wait until 4 hours before the game. It makes our jobs in placing those tickets a lot easier. It's when those tickets get donated day of, right? Because a lot of these folks are coming from Indy or different places around the state. They need to make those plans. That certainly helps. So, Greg, I hope that answers your question. But for men's basketball, it's always never enough. But with the other sports, if you ever have questions, feel free to, just reach out and we'll let you know where we stand. Final thoughts on this game. I thought it was an overall step in the right direction. I thought there were to be able to end it. I think for all the head scratching that we had at halftime and the head pounding, I thought to end it the way we did, I think play some of our best basketball in the second half that we played all season. Getting McKenzie going a little bit offensively, our two bigs continuing to play solid. Obviously, the one question mark is on the perimeter, but I thought there for a stretch in the second half we played some of our best basketball. So hopefully we can build off that and continue to build momentum going into the conference season.
Yeah, like you said, well said. A step in the right direction, a step forward. Forward is still better than taking steps back. Still some questions, still some things for IU to clean up, for IU to get better, for IU to work on, but things, again, that I still believe that IU can figure out and get better with as the season goes on. So that'll do it for this edition of Hoosier Morning After. We'll be back again the morning after the Maryland game. Again, that game is this Friday, first home conference game of the season, 7 p.m. Look forward to seeing what kind of Indiana team we see during that game. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for those listening on the podcast. Special thanks to those of you on YouTube, Jen, Nick, Greg. Thank you guys for being in there with us today. If you want to be a part of that, please go to the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that thumbs up at the bottom if you are watching on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter at General Chadwick is mine, at the Mop Lady from Martha. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you then the next time. Until then, guys, go out there, have yourself a wonderful day, and let's go Hoosiers.